If China moved on Taiwan tomorrow, the United States wouldn't begin with speeches. It wouldn't begin with press conferences. And it certainly wouldn't begin with hesitation. It would begin with movement. Because America's edge in the Pacific isn't reactive. It's prepositioned. It's layered. And most importantly, it's already operational. To understand that edge, you have to look beyond headlines, beyond political statements, beyond social media narratives. The Pacific is not just an ocean. It is the largest strategic chessboard on Earth. Stretching from the western coast of the United States to the contested waters near Taiwan, through the South China Sea, past Japan, and down toward Australia, it represents the most critical theater of 21st century power competition. And in that theater, geography matters. Distance matters. Logistics matter. Speed matters. But dominance? Dominance belongs to whoever can integrate air, sea, space, and cyber faster than anyone else. For decades, the United States has built its Pacific posture around one central principle: forward presence. At any given moment, U.S. Navy carrier strike groups operate somewhere in the Indo-Pacific. A carrier strike group is not just a ship. It is a floating military ecosystem. At its core is a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, capable of launching dozens of sorties per day. Around it, guided missile destroyers, cruisers, submarines, logistics vessels. Above it, F-35C stealth fighters, EA-18G electronic warfare aircraft, early warning systems. Below it, Virginia-class submarines moving silently through deep waters. And unlike land bases, carrier groups move. They reposition. They disappear. They reappear where least expected. That mobility is not symbolic power. It is operational unpredictability. But carriers alone do not define the edge, because modern dominance is no longer about sheer numbers. It is about integration. America's Pacific advantage is built on layered systems working simultaneously. Space-based surveillance feeds real-time intelligence to naval commanders. Cyber units monitor digital vulnerabilities across the region. Air Force assets positioned in Guam and Japan stand ready for rapid deployment. Submarines patrol choke points. Missile defense systems protect key installations. The power is not in one platform. The power is in the network. And networks win modern wars. Consider speed of detection. In a potential crisis scenario, early warning satellites would detect missile launches within seconds. Data would be transmitted instantly across command networks. Naval vessels would calculate intercept trajectories. Aircraft could be airborne within minutes. Decision cycles compress. And in high-intensity conflict, compressed decision cycles determine survival. But America's edge does not rely solely on hardware. It relies on doctrine. The United States has spent decades refining joint operations, the ability for Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Army, Space Force, and Cyber Command to operate seamlessly. Multi-domain operations are not theory. They are rehearsed continuously. Large-scale exercises in the Pacific simulate real conflict conditions. Carrier strike group maneuvers, amphibious landings, air defense drills, electronic warfare simulations. Every exercise sends a message. The United States is not preparing in theory. It is preparing in practice. And preparation creates deterrence. Yet perhaps the most underestimated element of America's edge is alliance architecture. The Pacific is not a solitary battlefield. It is an alliance web. Japan hosts critical U.S. bases and advanced missile defense systems. South Korea anchors stability on the peninsula. Australia expands strategic reach into the southern Pacific. The Philippines offers forward positioning near the South China Sea. These partnerships multiply force projection. They expand logistical flexibility. They complicate adversary calculations. Because in a crisis, the United States would not operate alone. It would operate with coordinated regional support. And coordination changes risk equations. But there is another dimension to the edge: industrial capacity. War is not only about the opening days. It is about sustainability. The United States maintains one of the most advanced defense industrial bases in the world. Shipyards, aerospace manufacturing, Missile production lines. Research and development ecosystems. When conflict becomes prolonged, production becomes decisive. And production requires scale. Scale requires economy. Economy requires stability. Which brings us back to Taiwan. Taiwan is not just geopolitics. It is semiconductors. Microchips power everything from smartphones to fighter jets. The Pacific theater is not only about military dominance. It is about technological dominance, protecting supply chains, maintaining digital superiority, ensuring that advanced manufacturing ecosystems remain aligned with American strategic interests. Because in modern power competition, economic leverage is strategic leverage, and strategic leverage reinforces military posture. Now, consider undersea dominance. Submarines represent one of America's most significant asymmetric advantages. Quiet, persistent, difficult to detect, armed with precision weapons. They operate beneath surface tensions, literally and figuratively. In contested waters, submarines create uncertainty. Uncertainty slows aggression. Slowed aggression creates space for diplomacy. Diplomacy backed by credible force becomes deterrence. And deterrence preserves the edge. But no edge is permanent. Every advantage must be maintained. The Pacific is dynamic. Technology evolves. Hypersonic weapons alter response timelines. Artificial intelligence accelerates battlefield decision-making. Cyber warfare targets infrastructure rather than armies. So the American edge is not static dominance. It is adaptive dominance. Investment in next-generation missile defense. Autonomous naval vessels. AI-assisted targeting systems. Space resilience capabilities. The edge evolves because threats evolve. And evolution requires political will. Strategic clarity. Budget prioritization. National consensus. The Pacific is far from Washington, D.C., but its consequences are not. Global trade flows through its sea lanes. Energy shipments transit its waters. Allies depend on its stability. If stability fractures, global markets react. Supply chains collapse. Regional tensions spiral. Which is why the American edge in the Pacific is not simply about warfighting. It is about preventing war. Power projected clearly reduces miscalculation. Miscalculation triggers escalation. Escalation spirals into conflict. The edge exists to interrupt that spiral before it begins. Yet deterrence is psychological as much as physical. Adversaries calculate capability. They calculate resolve. Capability can be measured. Resolve is inferred. And that is where consistency matters. Presence matters. Signals matter. Every joint exercise, every patrol, every alliance summit, every modernization program, they reinforce perception. Perception shapes decision-making. Decision-making determines whether crises ignite or dissolve. The Pacific is not quiet. It is tense. Naval patrols intersect. Air defense zones overlap. Political rhetoric intensifies. But beneath that visible tension lies a deeper reality. Strategic balance. Balance maintained not by hope, not by diplomacy alone, but by credible, integrated, forward-deployed power. America's edge is not loud. It does not need to be. It operates continuously. Carrier groups moving silently across open waters. Submarines patrolling unseen corridors. Satellites tracking trajectories above the atmosphere. Cyber teams monitoring digital infrastructure 24 hours a day. This is not theater. It is structure. And structure sustains stability. The question is not whether competition in the Pacific will continue. It will. The question is whether the United States can maintain technological, operational, and strategic superiority long enough to prevent that competition from turning kinetic. For now, the architecture holds. The alliances remain aligned. The fleets remain deployed. The integration remains unmatched. And the edge, though constantly tested, still belongs to the United States. But edges are never permanent. They are earned, maintained, defended. Every single day. In the Pacific, America is not simply present. It is positioned. And in modern geopolitics, positioning is power. That is America's edge.